Let me tell you, the tail is going to become the head. The last is going to become first. The stone that the builders rejected, God is going to make the chief cornerstone. Type on the line, it ain't over, it ain't over. It ain't over, it ain't over, it ain't over, it ain't over. I might be down right now, but it ain't over, it ain't over. Don't count me out just yet. It ain't over, it ain't over. God's going to turn the whole thing all the way.
I don't care how dark it looks for you. I don't care what they just said to you. I don't care what the verdict is. I don't care what the haters say. It ain't over. No matter what happens to you, it ain't over. Ain't no such a thing as over. Do you know, man, that you can actually mess your life completely up? You can jack it all the way up and you can turn around and get it right. Do you know that you can be divorced multiple times and still be okay? Do you understand that you cannot have a degree and still be just fine? Now, whatever you've been through, whatever that is, guess what? You still here. You have a great life in front of you. But your great life is in front of you. It's not behind you. Pull yourself together and quit tripping because you in the process. God is processing you. He ain't through with you. If he was through with you, you would not wake up in the morning.
A classic example. An ancient Bible story says Jesus and his disciples were watching people come by and contribute to the treasury. Some came by and gave large amounts. Some gave average amounts. And some gave modest amounts. The story then continues. A little lady came along and put 2 pennies in the treasury. Jesus said to his disciples, "Look at that. The lady and the 2 pennies." They said, "2 pennies? You give us this example out of all who made a contribution? 2 pennies?" He said, "You don't understand. She gave more than anyone else." They said, 2 pennies? More than anyone else? Some have given fortunes. He said, "You don't understand. Her 2 pennies represented, I'm sure, more of what she had than the large amounts represented of what their givers had. So she gave the most." How remarkable. But let's continue the story. Sometimes what is not said or reported is also a valuable part of the story. Consider what Jesus did not do. He did not take the 2 pennies out of the treasury and run after the little lady and say, "Here, little lady, we have observed that you are so poor and so pitiful, we're going to give you back your 2 pennies. We just can't let you pay." What an incredible insult that would have been. She would surely have said, "Aren't my 2 pennies good enough? They represent a great portion of what I have. Will you take away my dignity?" No, that scene did not occur. And what a meaningful lesson. We learn from what did not happen as well. Let me give you the eloquence of silence, the eloquence of what was not reported but certainly must have been true. And it reads, Jesus left her 2 pennies in the treasury. What an important silent statement. It's of the highest philosophy. It best explains our earthly experience. Life is conditional. Value is on the other side of price. And of first importance is the act, not the amount. Everyone must pay, even if it is only 2 pennies. Now, after taxes, and I said all that to get to this, learn to live on 70%. The reason it's 70 is because you're going to be doing some very special things with the 30%. So what's left, 70%, is yours to spend. Now let's talk about the all-important subject of how you allocate the 30%. I remember one day saying to Mr. Show, if I had more money, I would have a better plan. He said to me, Mr. Rohn, I would suggest that if you had a better plan, you would have more money. So it's not the amount that counts, it's the plan that counts. It's not what you allocate, it's how you allocate it.
I have to say this first. No matter what you hear me say, no matter how I tell my story, no matter what piece of information I lay out in front of you, please tag that with "Cause of God." My life is favored. You know, Bishop Jakes told me one time, When you got favor on your life, no matter what you're thrown into, you're going to always rise to the top. I have been thrown into a lot, but because of favor and grace, I just keep showing up somehow, man, no matter what they do. And so all of this that I have is because of the grace of God. Now, I'm going to tell you something. You got to have a tremendous work ethic to be successful in here. In other words, you can relate to this, you got to have a lot of dog. You really do, man, if you want to be successful, because it's going to be a lot of trying times. So you have to have a tremendous work ethic. But you got to have faith. Faith without works is dead. Albert Einstein said once, he said, imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attraction. Everything you have in this world, somebody imagined. It's your imagination is tremendous. Somebody was sitting on the phone when they talked cord to the wall and said, man, I wish I could just go outside with this phone. Everybody in here got a cell phone. Somebody imagined that. Somebody got tired of riding in a wagon cross country from slavery to freedom. Somebody said, I wish we had something that made these wheels move by themselves. We drive cars. People got tired of driving from New York to LA. Somebody said, I wish we could fly. We got airplanes. Imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions.
When you're working on a dream, at some point in time, a transition takes place. And the transition is what you are becoming in pursuit of the dream. Because even if you don't get the dream, you become such a strong and powerful person. It will so change your life. You can look at something else and say, well, I think I'll go do this then. Because you've now developed yourself in such confidence and such competence in how to deal in the arena of life that you can move into another area and not miss a beat. Once you begin to discover who you are, then you really realize how you have been given authority and dominion over everything on the face of the earth, including all the dimensions of your life. But you can only do that through the struggle of life. And most people avoid the struggle. Most people go through life avoiding pain. And when you go through life like that, something in you dies. Something in you that you never activate is lying dormant in there, that you never get a chance to call on because you have not challenged yourself. Somebody said, the land of familiarity belongs to the dead.
For like an entrepreneur, not a salesperson, not just an entrepreneur who's looking to start a business. Well, if you can't sell, you can't influence, you can't persuade, good luck trying to get your business off the ground. I'm not talking about just your customers, I'm talking about the bankers, the people with venture capitalists, your vendors, your credit card processor, the people who work for you. How do you get people to work for you excited? How do you get them excited? How do you get them to want to buy into your vision? At the highest level, what sales really is the transference of emotion. And the emotion you're transferring is this emotion of certainty. When someone feels certain, yes, people is going to help me fill my need. You're an entrepreneur, you can start a business, you're recruiting people, or you're selling people on your vision for the future, your vision for this company. If you can't do that, good luck trying to get great people to work with. It's almost nearly impossible, which is why you always see, the people, they say, oh, he's a visionary. Well, that's true, but typically not only are they visionary, they also possess the ability to sell the vision to other people, inspire them, motivate them. So selling is not just like, people think of selling, oh, well, I'm not a salesman. I don't go, well, yes, you do. You need to learn how to do it. How about trying to get your kids to make their bed or do their homework or believe in the value of education? How about trying to get a landlord to do a reduction on your rent or to extend the lease the way you want? How about trying to negotiate terms? You understand, it cuts to everything. So I always look at it and say, when I say I cracked the code on influence, what I really did essentially, I was, by working backwards almost, by saying I'm going to start at the end and go to the beginning, so what has to happen before someone says yes, I was able to take that and put it into the system that took the no-name, talentless guys and turned them into millionaires.
What happened with me with this film? So I accepted the film and I was really excited to take this, and I loved the idea, and I was reading it, and I gotten probably 2 weeks into my preparation for the film, and my father was diagnosed with cancer. And I was like, first it stunned me, and then it was the magical work of the universe. I could not believe that this was the film I was working on, and I was, forced to face, my father's mortality. So it was rough for about a week, and I got it together, and I decided that we would use the process of the character who was suffering a loss, and I would share my preparation with my father. And so we just started talking about love, time, and death. And it was some of the most open and powerful conversations that we'd ever had. And they gave him 6 weeks, and he lived for 4 months. So about 3 months into the 6 weeks, I go to see him one day, and he said, "Man, this shit is embarrassing." And I said, "What, Dad?" He said, "Man, you tell everybody you're gonna be dead in 6 weeks. 3 months later, you still hanging around."
Miss that, Dad.
Yeah, I know, right? But it was so beautiful, and we got to a place that we were talking open and comedically, and really, I think I was able to embody the ideas of the loss and also the redemptive quality of the pain. The loss is bound to joy. Like pain and suffering are bound to joy. The being able to survive something is actually a big part of being able to find that next wave of joy. You appreciate smaller things, right? Like
many times you will have angst and worry about things and put yourself in a state when the other person really isn't even thinking about you. So learning that I could specifically determine for myself what the boundaries were for me, what I wanted to do, give my money, give my time, give of my service to who I wanted to give it to when I did, that I get to make that decision. And just because you get 100 requests a week doesn't mean you have to try to fulfill all of that. Just because you have all of these demands on your time and on you doesn't mean that you have to say yes. You get to decide because you're the master of your fate, the captain of your soul, as William Ernest Henley said in Invictus. And understanding that really changed the meaning of my life, in that I was no longer driven by what other people wanted me to do, but took charge of my own destiny, making choices based upon what do I feel is the next right move for me.
And they've made it in one generation. When we look at the wealthiest people in America today, Warren Buffett, Michael Dell, of course, Bill Gates, Paul Allen, and the Walton family, all first-generation multi-billionaires. We have a $12 trillion economy today that is growing at the rate of $500 to $600 billion a year, and all that money is going through somebody's fingers, and your job is to make sure it goes through yours and some of it sticks. Is that a good goal for today? And my job is to show you how to do it. The good news is that all the answers have been found. Self-made millionaires have been studied exhaustively. They've been analyzed. They've been interviewed by the hundreds of thousands and millions. And what we know is exactly who they are and what they do and how they think and how they tick and the decisions they make and the things that they do and they don't do. And the wonderful thing is this: if you do what other successful people do, you eventually get the same result that they do. Now, some people say, well, I started off without any money and I don't have any money now. Well, join the crowd. Nobody's got any money. Most people are broke up until their 40s and 50s. So if you're broke today, you're just one of the gang. The only question is, do you stay there? And the answer is no. Now, when I started off in this many years ago, I came from very poor beginnings. I did not graduate from high school. I finished in the half of the class that makes the top half possible. When I left school, I dropped out of high school. I could only get laboring jobs. I was told, by the way, if you don't get a good education, you won't do well in life. Don't get good grades, you won't get a good job. Don't go to college, you won't do well, and so on. And I believed that for a long time until I found there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people who dropped out of high school who went on to become millionaires and billionaires as well. The reason I say that to you, by the way, is don't let it hold you back. Don't let any experience that you've ever had in your life act as a brake on your potential, because there's hundreds of thousands of people who've had it worse than you could ever dream of, who've gone on to accomplish wonderful things.